if many conservatives like yourself announce they will not vote for Trump, Trump then is nominated, Trump loses. Then, and not by much, let's say. I'm just giving you a worst-case scenario for conservatism. He loses by an amount that could be attributed to the Republicans who stayed home, the conservatives, because they won't vote.
Right, he loses by one vote, and it was my vote.
That's right. He loses by Ben Shapiro's vote. And it's isolated. It's clear, especially California, where clearly a Republican, Ted Cruz, would have won.
Right, exactly.
Right. All right. Yeah, that's right. So let's imagine that. Then the conservatives, and there are conservatives who are supportive of Donald Trump. They say, look, conservatives, these traditional conservatives blew our chance. It's not going to help conservatism. If he wins, they'll say, look, they're irrelevant. A guy who talks the language of America could win for the Republicans. So there is no scenario I can imagine. Well, I take that back. He could become so horrible that you're vindicated. But
which, by the way, I think he will. But yes.
All right.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this, right? If I thought he was going to be great, then
no, not great. No.
If I thought he was going to be mediocre,
non-horrible.
Right.
Yes. If you thought he'd be non-horrible, you mean as a candidate or as a president?
As a president.
I see. Okay. But let us imagine that happens. Conservatism doesn't win. Conservatism is in a terrible state. Let's be fair. But
the house is burned down. Everybody's pretending that this house has not been burned down. It's been burned down. The only question is who's going to rebuild it. Is it going to be the Trump people, or is it going to be the conservatives? Because here's the reality. Okay, the argument for Trump is that 5 million white voters stayed home for Romney, and he's bringing those people in. Right? That's the argument for Trump. And that he's going to win because he brings in these blue-collar, dispossessed voters who feel left out by free trade. That's really the argument for him on an electoral level. Okay, so the new argument is that if you boycott, then you get to control the party? Great, I'll boycott. Right? I mean, they boycotted last time. Now they get to control the party because he's bringing them in. Fine, I'm not going to acquiesce in this. I'm not part of this. I mean, you gave a historical example earlier, Dennis. You said we had to side with Stalin to stop Hitler. Well, I'll give you another historical example. And again, neither of us is comparing Trump to Hitler because that's silly. I'll give you another historical example involving Hitler, however. When Hitler was rising, he didn't actually win the election. Right? Von Papen went to the leadership and said, do you want the communists? He actually lost more votes in the election right before he became chancellor than he had in the election prior. He'd actually lost votes.
That's right.
And von Papen went to the leadership in Germany and he said, I can control him. I can control him. You want these communists running things? Or do you want this guy? We can control him. I don't think Donald Trump can be controlled. And I think you're playing a very risky game if you're going to put your ideology on the back of somebody who you think can be controlled.
And what will he do, since you obviously don't compare him to Hitler?
Right.
So what will he do that cannot be controlled that renders him the fearsome figure that you believe he is?
I think that he will do, and I think the left will do the same thing, but I'm not going to have it done in my name. I think he's going to continue along the path that President Obama has drawn of maximizing executive power on the federal level at the expense of state and legislative power. I think he's going to be a strong man. I think that's what he's pledging to his supporters. I think that's why they like him. I think that his supporters think he's going to be a reverse Obama. He's a RSOB. He's going to be Hugo Chavez, and he's going to come in and he's going to clean up all the problems. I think that he will crack down on dissent. I do. He's doing it right now. I think that he will use whatever means are at his disposal. So if talk radio turns against him, I don't put it past Donald Trump to go to the FEC and the FCC and try and crack down on free speech. He sues journalists. He sues journalists just to get them to shut up. Donald Trump is the kind of guy who, I mean, not only is he a con man, he's somebody who openly targets his opposition for destruction. I mean, he's just like Obama, except he's not of the left. And that's not what I want. And he is kind of the left. I mean, I don't know what he is. Do you know what he is? I don't trust him. Do you, to be a conservative?
I have no idea. That's correct.
Right.
So every argument is legit.
Right. So the question is, do you want to be complicit in that, or is it better to understand where we are? See, I think part of this is that you still think there's hope for the country. I think we're done. So I think, like, you're actually more optimistic than I am. You think that there's hope. If Trump is elected, we'll preserve the Supreme Court. Maybe we'll have a shot at turning this ship around. We'll replace Trump with somebody better in 4 or 8 years, and then we'll move on to a glorious conservative horizon. I think the conservative movement is totally broken. I think that we've lost. I think the conservative movement has been taken over by people who are either happy to make deals with Democrats Paul Bryan and Donald Trump are of the same ilk in this way. They are happy to make deals, right? Deals are good. Donald Trump says it all the time. I think that the Republican Party has been taken over by people who want to make deals with the left, which is a bad idea. And I think that it's been taken over now by a populist figure who is pledging victory because the Republican Party understands the only way they are preserved. They have no ideological consistency anymore. The Republican Party stands for everything at all times. The only way they are preserved is if they win. Well, then I would rather deny them victory. The Republican Party, I'd rather deny the Republican Party victory in the name of an ideology for which I do not stand than allow them to continue pretending that they represent me.
So how do you react to Ted Cruz and the others saying that they would support Trump if he's the nominee?
I think they're wrong. By the way, I thought that when Trump was asked that first question in the debate, asked, would you support anybody on this stage? I thought that his answer should have been no. Because how do I know who these people are going to be? It's such a silly question. I'm not going to pledge my support to somebody before I even know who they are.
You mean at the first debate?
At the very first debate. They asked for a loyalty oath.
Well, at the very first debate, he did not take the oath.
Right, and he was right not to do that. I actually supported him when he did that.
Right. So you feel So you feel Ted Cruz should have said not if it's Donald Trump?
Yes.
All right. It's going too fast, the hour.